The New Orleans Saints lose a heartbreaker, a heart stopper, a head scratcher to the Philadelphia Eagles 24-21 in the city of brotherly love, but unfortunately, no love for the New Orleans Saints in this one. And that's what we're covering in this week's episode of What Just Happened here with the Canal Street Chronicles. All right, everybody, welcome into this week's episode of What Just Happened. I'm Ross Jackson with Canal Street Chronicles. We appreciate you being here. And what just happened is exactly the phrase that every Saints fan was uttering at the end of this 24-21 loss by the New Orleans Saints on the road in Philadelphia. And the one word that I can think of to really try to summarize as much of this as possible is uncharacteristic. Everything about this game was uncharacteristic for the New Orleans Saints. And that's one of the reasons why I actually have optimism coming out of it. There's obviously a lot of reason for concern, but I'm digging a little bit more optimism out of this because there's nothing about this game, whether it be the faulty play by the offensive line, the terrible play by the defensive line, and ability to contain, an ability for pass rush, the bad play and run defense, the issues over on the offensive side in terms of play calling and game plan, essentially just coming out flat, right? All of those things. Oh, special teams, Will Lutz, of course, missing the 2 field goals. All of those things are completely uncharacteristic and feel like anomalies to me more than it feels like some type of massive change in what the New Orleans Saints now look like as a team. I think there's quantifiable reasons for you to expect that each one of those elements is only going to improve and get back to where it was in terms of what we were watching over the 9-game win streak, and in particular, the phenomenal 5-game stretch that this defense was on. Now, you look at the fact that the Saints gave up 2 100-yard rushers. Obviously, that doesn't look good. First time that they've done that since 2017 to Samaje Perine against Washington. But for the Saints, there's no reason to believe that they can't defend the run anymore, and they'll never be able to do it again, right? Like, I think that this is a team that will right the ship off of this one-game sort of fluke experience that they just had, just like they righted the ship off of more consistent and honestly more dire issues that they were dealing with at the beginning of the season. In fact, you've already seen the process begin as this team massively improved in the second half. It still wasn't enough, but that's what happens when you go down 17-0 in the first half. The key thing to remember is that the performance that we saw from the New Orleans Saints against the Philadelphia Eagles, although it was the norm on Sunday for them, it's not the new norm moving forward, as all of these issues are fixable. And in fact, it's easy to diagnose where there are issues. We can go ahead and take a look at some film this week. I wanted to try something a little bit different. It's not all 22, but just an early look at a couple of the sort of more impactful plays from this Sunday's loss. So we'll start off with the 82-yard run that was given up in the first half, allowing the Philadelphia Eagles to go up 17-0 before halftime. And they did a great job illustrating this one on broadcast, but we'll go ahead and take a look at it as well. As you can see, Kwon Alexander, 2 options in terms of where he is able to attack this gap. And unfortunately, he chose the wrong one. He tried to backdoor it. It ends up allowing Miles Sanders to get outside to the perimeter, which is exactly where you don't want a running back to get. And Miles Sanders is able to break away on this big 82-yard run down the sideline for a score. You want to force that running back inside. It's a little bit easier to deal with. I don't think that that's an issue that you're going to see consistently here moving forward. We've seen Kwon Alexander, as well as every other player along the defense, along the Saints defense, make that read and make the right choice. This was just an example to where it only takes one decision, one bad gap, one bad assignment, one bad angle to really change the course of a game, or in this case, solidify it in the way that it was already going. Next, we'll take a look at the play that everyone is talking about, the 4th and 2 rollout over to the boundary side. Very curious play call. It seems like a half-field read over to the short side of the field. Yes, Michael Thomas is open on the backside. Everyone wants to point it out, but that's a very tough read for any quarterback to make when your play design and play flow is forcing you to literally run away from the best option that you have on a short distance situation. Michael Thomas is absolutely the right player to target in a situation like this, but this play design does not allow for the cleanest opportunity, especially when you have backside pressure coming, given up by Josh Hill, that essentially is coming from the exact same place that Michael Thomas is coming from. So there's not a lot of opportunity for Taysom Hill to find that, which is on the opposite side of the field from where he's supposed to be reading, stop, plant his feet, turn his hips, and then deliver that throw. So again, this is something that we have seen be better already in terms of play calling, in terms of being opportunistic and taking advantage of the defense. We saw them do it on the 51-yard drive after Kwon Alexander forced that miraculous fumble on Philadelphia, to where they were able to just open up the offense and really go after Philadelphia's injured defense. Last thing we'll look at, you need one shot of it. Craig Robertson not recovering that onside kick. I don't know if it's just that he fell awkwardly, he didn't see the ball until it was too late, whatever it was, but that was the Saints' final chance to get an opportunity to be able to go down the field and potentially either tie the game or perhaps even take the lead based on what we saw that offense do in that 3-play 51-yard drive that ended in a phenomenal touchdown catch by Jared Cook. So just 3 examples, one from each element of the game, offense, defense, and special teams, that really gives you an idea of how this game went for New Orleans. That goes without even showing the 2 field goals that were missed by Will Lutz that ended up being the difference in the game. Goes without showing the sacks that were allowed late in the game that ended up actually pushing Will Lutz to a 57-yard field goal where it could have been closer had the Saints not taken 2 sacks in 3 plays in the second to last drive for the team, and without looking at some of the other struggles along the defensive side. But you can look at all the struggles that you want. The fact of the matter is that this is shared responsibility across the team, lack of preparation, lack of execution, and just some mental lapses all throughout, and again, across all areas of the field. So point the fingers wherever you want, right? No matter what, you're going to be right. But there are some top performers in this game that end up giving you at least some shred of optimism. And if you need optimism moving forward to the future, again, remember the mantra, this is not the new norm for the Saints team. And of course, this offense gets much better once Drew Brees returns as well. But let's take a look at some of the positive performances from this game. Alvin Kamara had 94 total yards, not necessarily the let Kamara cook situation that I was really hoping for in this one, but 11 carries for 50 yards and a touchdown, 7 catches for 44 yards. Michael Thomas just continues to be reliable and be the guy that you need on this Saints offense. 8 catches for 84 yards in this one. Over on the defensive side, not a lot of positivity. Malcolm Jenkins, though, played a pretty nice game aside from missing that tackle on the Miles Sanders big touchdown run. But a tackle for a loss, a quarterback hit, and a lot of other things that he did throughout this game that you're not going to see charted in a box score. And then Quan Alexander, despite the fact that he missed that gap and then fired the wrong gap and opened up the opportunity for Miles Sanders to get to the edge there, he still forced the fumble at a key time, almost an absolute miracle of a fumble forced there that was almost answered or combined with the absolute miracle of an onside kick recovery. But unfortunately, Saints weren't able to do that. But they were able to capitalize on that turnover, and then that came that big, that nice touchdown drive that Taysom Hill led late in the game. If there was one major improvement that I would want to see from Taysom Hill going into next week, it would just be decisiveness in terms of whether or not he's going to try to push the ball down the field through the air or if he's going to tuck and run. There have been some times where he kind of hesitates, maybe tries to hitch a couple of times and trying to push the ball down the field. He needs to prove himself as a quarterback and as a thrower. I completely understand that, but also don't allow yourself to be limited from what it is that truly can make you great, which is your ability with the ball in your hand, extending plays and making plays in the run game. All right, y'all, that's going to do it for this week's episode of What Just Happened. We'll be back with you next week, regardless of the result against the Kansas City Chiefs, to keep you up to date with everything going on there. Don't forget to check out CanalStreetChronicles.com. Subscribe to the page, turn on notifications as well so you know whenever a new video is posted. Like and comment below as well. What is it that you want to see next from Taysom Hill? Are you ready for Drew Brees? Are you ready for Jameis Winston? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next week.